Okay, let's dive in. Have you ever walked into a room and just felt the energy shift? Like the second you entered.
Yeah, or maybe had people glare at you for seemingly no reason at all.
Exactly. Not for anything you did,
Odd.
just for being there. Or maybe you felt, attacked, overlooked, misunderstood in ways that just don't add up logically.
Right. And many people might just brush that off, think it's personal, maybe just a coincidence.
Uh-huh.
But today, this deep dive, we're looking at a source, a specific spiritual teaching that really unpacks this idea of the chosen one.
Okay.
And it suggests these feelings. They aren't personal, not really. They're spiritual.
Spiritual, yeah.
Yeah, the idea being you might not just be another face in the crowd. You could actually be, well, what this source calls a chosen one.
Right. Okay, so let's unpack that. That's a fascinating claim. Our mission today is really to understand the core idea here from the source. This line that what's inside you terrifies everything that thrives in darkness.
It's a powerful statement.
It really is. And the surprising part, as the teaching is that demons don't fear your face. They fear your presence, the spirit within you that carries what it calls the fire of God.
So we're going to explore the sort of unique challenges, but also the profound purpose that comes with this.
Yeah.
This spiritual mark, according to this teaching.
And examine why those seemingly random experiences, the glares, the feeling attack.
Right. Why, from this viewpoint, they might actually be proof of a deeper divine assignment.
Okay.
And it's important, I think, to state up front, we're exploring this specific perspective today. We're not necessarily saying this is the universal truth, but we're digging into its insights. What kind of jumps out of you right away?
Well, what immediately grabs me is this idea that your very presence, just by existing, is inherently a disruptor, according to this teaching anyway.
Yeah.
Our source describes it pretty vividly. When you walk into a space, they feel it. They feel him, meaning God, presumably.
The divine presence.
Yeah. And it's not subtle. It leads to these wildly polarized reactions. People will either gravitate toward you with reverence or pull back with rage.
Wow. No middle ground there.
Apparently not. It's like, in this framework, your very being just. It exposes everything fake, hidden, and broken around you, and you don't even have to say anything.
And what's interesting there is how the teaching clarifies what darkness is really targeting in this context.
Okay.
It argues it's not the surface stuff, not your hairstyle, your voice, your clothes.
Right, not the superficial things.
No, it's what it calls the anointing you carry, which it describes as this, like divine empowerment or a spiritual blessing.
Anointing. Okay.
And from this perspective, the devil, or negative forces, whatever term you prefer, it knows who you are before you know who you are.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so a lot of attacks you might have experienced or survived, the source calls them preemptive strikes.
Preemptive. So not because of something you did.
Exactly.
Right.
But because of what hell saw coming, what you could do, your potential.
Okay, that reframes things quite a bit. So it's not about weakness. It's about being seen as powerful, spiritually speaking.
Precisely. And this isn't just something that starts later in life.
Yeah.
The source claims it goes way back to childhood.
Right, I saw that. It says chosen ones from childhood felt different. They saw more, felt deeper, cried harder, asked questions no one around you was asking.
And it insists that wasn't just imagination. It was, as the teaching puts it, sensing something that was already disturbing what was around you.
So even as a kid, you were already sort of shaking things up spiritually without realizing it.
That's the idea. That firelight, that gift of discernment, as the source names it, it couldn't be hidden, even if you tried to fit in. It's as you shook atmospheres just by showing up.
Oh.
So we connect that to the bigger picture the source is painting. It suggests this innate spiritual sensitivity, this potency right from the start.
Which brings us to a really thought-provoking point this teaching makes, that what feels like spiritual warfare, maybe it's actually proof, not punishment.
Yeah, that's a key reframe.
You know, those times when things just went wrong for no apparent reason, or waking up feeling heavy, drained, just, under attack. The source insists this isn't you being weak. It's because your spirit was being targeted.
Okay, but why your spirit specifically? What's special about it, according to this view?
Well, the source explains it like this.
Yeah.
Your spirit carried answers, it held healing, and it disrupted demonic assignments just by being present.
So a threat just by existing.
Basically, yeah. And the enemy's hope, from this viewpoint, was pretty clear. To distract you, make you forget who you are, make you blend in.
Make you doubt the power you carry.
Exactly. Make you doubt the very power you were born to release.
But the core message, and it comes up again and again in this teaching, is that you're still here, still standing, still chosen.
Right. Despite it all.
Despite it all. So those battles, they weren't punishment. They were, as you said, proof that you've been carrying something divine all along. Proof that darkness had to react, had to move every time you entered.
It sounds almost like you're setting off some kind of internal alarm system for spiritual entities.
Well, it seems to go beyond just an alarm. The teaching suggests these entities, these forces, they fear the word that lives in you. They fear the light that makes shadows panic.
Okay.
They fear the voice that wakes dry bones. And they feel you as the vessel through which divine authority flows.
That's intense.
It is. And this perspective also offers a pretty specific explanation for things like painful relationship breakdowns or rejections.
How so?
It argues it's not that you weren't good enough, but maybe you were too anointed to be misused.
Too anointed to be misused. Wow.
Yeah. Your spirit, your purpose, your future. The teaching says they couldn't be manipulated or blocked in the way maybe someone else's could.
So from this viewpoint, chosen ones aren't just passively surviving these things, they're actively changing the environment around them.
That's what the source claims. They shift atmospheres, they carry revelation, they ignite purpose in others just by walking in their own.
That's a huge shift in perspective for anyone who's felt constantly beat down by these kinds of experiences.
Absolutely. And this kind of leads us naturally into exploring what the teaching calls the path of isolation and alignment.
Isolation. Okay, that often goes hand in hand with feeling different.
Right. The source suggests, pretty bluntly, that if you weren't dangerous to darkness, you wouldn't be left out, lied on, or cast aside.
So the exclusion is actually a sign of your spiritual significance.
That's the argument.
Yeah.
That you are spiritually aware in a world that's spiritually asleep. And it's this sacred inner knowing that spiritual adversaries fear the most.
And that explains why trying to just blend in or act normal never really felt right or never worked.
Exactly. Because, as the source puts it, something about your presence always made others feel exposed. You weren't born to fit in. You were born to disrupt.
Born to disrupt. That's a powerful reframe for anyone who's always felt like the odd one out. It offers a completely different lens, doesn't it?
It really does. And this disruption within this teaching's framework, it's not about causing chaos for chaos's sake.
Right.
It's framed as divine interference. Like you're shifting the spiritual climate of a room without even saying a word.
Yeah.
Your light, it argues, is just uncompromised and it convicts what's false.
So that persistent feeling of being an outcast, the source suggests maybe they didn't hate you, they hated what manifested around you, the divine presence.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And what about that sensitivity? You know, being told you're too sensitive.
Oh, yeah. Many people hear that.
Our source flips that completely. It says it's actually spiritual alertness, not emotional weakness.
Spiritual alertness. I like that.
Yeah. You were created to interfere with darkness, to interrupt generational curses, to expose manipulation, to break cycles of deception. It's redefining something often seen as a vulnerability into a strength, a purpose.
Wow. That's a lot to take in. And it often starts early, you mentioned.
It does. According to this teaching, it claims hell came for you so early, leading to these childhood wounds, sometimes, sadly, from the very people meant to protect you.
That's tough. What's the goal there from this perspective?
The enemy's goal, as the source describes it, was to shatter your identity before it can take root, to make you question your worth before you could ever realize your assignment.
Try to cut you off at the knees before you even start walking.
Exactly. But the source also offers a lot of hope here. It says, once that chosen one remembers, once they wake up, once they start walking in alignment with their calling, it's game over for the enemy.
Okay, remembering, waking up, alignment, that sounds crucial. But here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit difficult. This teaching talks about the cost. The cost of clarity.
Yeah, it suggests clarity often brings loneliness, that your journey will frequently be lonely.
And it's specific about why. Not because you're unworthy of love, but because you're too dangerous to darkness to be surrounded by just anyone.
Wow, that's a stark statement. Clarity will cost you company. It is. But again, there's a reframe. The isolation you felt wasn't punishment, it was preparation.
Preparation for what?
Preparation to hear God, maybe.
Yeah.
The source says the silence was sacred because God was whispering to you when no one else could. It provides a different, maybe even comforting way to look back at those lonely times.
Okay, that makes sense in this context. And what about those constant attacks, the feeling of resistance? From this viewpoint, what do they mean?
They're seen as evidence.
Evidence. Evidence of what?
Evidence that you're getting closer. Closer to full awareness, closer to divine alignment, closer to becoming undeniable in your purpose. The teaching claims that spiritual adversaries, they stalk the ones who carry heaven's blueprint.
So the heat gets turned up the closer you get to your purpose.
That's the idea presented here, which leads us into this concept of unshakable authority and how, maybe counterintuitively, resistance itself can actually be a tool on this journey.
Resistance as a tool. Okay, explain that.
Well, first, the Source talks about this inherent power. The power that flows through you is described as nothing less than the fingerprint of the divine.
Wow.
You were marked before you were born, it claims, for a mission that would demand everything.
Marked. And this mark, according to the Source, it changes everything, right? Even how you just live day to day.
Yeah, it suggests you can't even sin like other people because conviction meets you faster, stronger, deeper. You can't run from the call because the call runs after you. So this kind of authority doesn't make your life easier, quite the opposite.
It makes it harder.
Right, it makes it harder because the moment you carry heaven's seal, you become a threat to hell's systems. Your very existence, it proposes, becomes a form of rebellion.
Your existence is rebellion. Okay.
That's right. Your presence, according to this teaching, it activates a war zone just by being you. Your existence is a rebellion against darkness.
Even when you feel weak or lost.
Even then, it suggests that even in your lowest moments, the enemy still recognized the glow on your spirit because the mark doesn't leave.
Yeah.
It's not about what you do. It's about who you are.
Who you are.
Yeah. You are a carrier of light, a host of glory, a temple for something eternal. And crucially, your power, the Source clarifies, doesn't come from your own strength. It flows from your surrender.
Surrender. Okay, so that helps make sense of why there's often that feeling of hitting a wall, right? That wall of resistance or invisible tension just before something significant happens.
Exactly. The Source interprets that as confirmation of your spiritual weight, that you were sent to break old patterns, old darkness, and carry a light that threatens centuries of darkness.
So resistance isn't a stop sign.
No, from this perspective, it's a sign you're advancing. Hell, it states, targets the one who are about to take territory.
Okay, so every attack, every delay, maybe even betrayals.
In this framework, they're seen as spiritual backlash because your awakening is disrupting something ancient, something entrenched.
Right. But here's the part you mentioned earlier, resistance as a tool. How does that work?
Well, here's the really profound twist this teaching offers. Resistance isn't just the enemy's weapon. It's also God's tool.
God's tool.
Yeah, because resistance does something comfort never can. It strengthens, it purifies, it reveals what's real.
Okay, that's interesting, like tempering steel.
Kind of. It forces you, the Source argues, to stop depending on external validation. It exposes lies, both internal and external. And it helps separate your identity from your circumstances or outcomes.
Which leads to what?
A realm of authority that can't be taken away. Because it's rooted in who you are in God, not in what's happening around you.
That's powerful.
And it suggests this resistance often intensifies right before a breakthrough. It uses the analogy of spiritual contraction before birth.
Okay, labor pains before something new emerges.
Exactly. You are not being crushed. You're being birthed into a new dimension. And this, it explains, is often why not everyone can go with you into that new season.
Right. Some connections were tied to the old you.
Precisely. They were rooted in who you used to be. So the shedding, the letting go, the Source says, bless it. It's actually God's protection.
That makes so much sense when viewed through this specific lens. It feels like an unveiling, as the Source calls it. You are untouchable because of what's inside you, carrying the presence of the living God, described as spiritual voltage.
Yeah, spiritual voltage. I like that description. And it offers these really striking reframes for common struggles, doesn't it?
It really does. Like your insomnia might actually be divine training, or your tendency to overthink. Maybe that's actually your discernment sharpening.
Right, or that heavy feeling, that weight. Maybe it's not just depression, but you're feeling the burdens of nations and generations God was calling you to lift.
That's a huge perspective shift.
It is. You are, as this teaching powerfully puts it, a spiritual weapon forged in fire.
Forged in fire.
Carrying resurrection power, wisdom beyond your age, and even the roar of a lion.
And God, it claims, hid you in plain sight, allowed you to be underestimated.
Yes, deliberately. So that when your time comes, No one will be able to take credit for your glow except God.
Okay, so if we pull all these threads together now, what does this all mean for the person listening, the one who resonates with this idea of being a chosen one?
Well, the message seems to be that the time for hiding, the time for silence, is ending.
Right. The source says power in its purest form is developed in silence, and now the silence is ending.
Your voice is being stirred, that fire reignited. The world, it concludes, actually needs these divinely charged disruptors.
Needs them now.
So the call to action from this teaching, it's pretty clear, isn't it?
Yeah. Walk boldly. Speak when heaven gives you words. Move even when it feels uncertain.
Trust that what's inside you knows the way.
Then that core truth, the one that runs through this entire teaching, God is with you. And what's in you terrifies darkness because it's real, it's holy, it's alive.
And it's time the world sees what's been hidden.
Wow. So to bring it all back home, the central idea from this source.
Demons don't fear your name. They fear the fire you carry.
And now that you know, they'll never be able to stop you again.
It's a message of immense empowerment, really.
Absolutely. This deep dive exploring this particular perspective, it suggests that feeling different, the battles, the rejections, and maybe they weren't mistakes or curses at all.
But confirmations.
Yeah.
Confirmations of a powerful divine identity.
You are not ordinary. You are not forgotten. You are not cursed. According to this teaching, you are called. You are chosen.
And you are, from this viewpoint, finally rising into everything God placed inside of you.
Which leaves us with a really provocative thought for you, the listener, to maybe sit with.
Yeah. So what does this all mean for you, personally? What if those feelings, being too much sometimes or just not fitting in, what if those were actually, as this teaching suggests, the subtle whispers of your divine assignment? What hidden power might you be unknowingly carrying? And how might acknowledging that perspective change everything about your path forward?